And again, when the Biogen CEO said, well, we spent $3 billion on basic research, not development, but basic research, research to develop an IND, which is the first step of testing of development, which is testing a drug in people. We spent $300 million a year for 10 years. It's $3 billion. He said, I could have had 10 or 20 venture funds instead of the basic R&D, which didn't amount to much. So it's a really interesting way to look at it and think about it. I would always say that, you're better off investing in the S&P 500 for most of these biotechs than trying to do their own R&D. Goodwill is just, basically worthless accounting thing. But I think that idea that what would have this company been worth if it just took its profits and put it in the S&P 500? Well, for a lot of companies, that was a better deal. And so when people say WACC, weighted average cost of capital, they are trying to, the first lesson I learned in business was maybe 14, or real academic finance, is the corporation has the WACC hurdle and has to come up with projects that have a net return on capital above the WACC. The problem is that if you can't find projects that have a net return that includes probability of success and stuff like that, if you can't find a net return above the WACC, you should return the capital to shareholders through dividends or buybacks. They didn't even say buybacks back then because they didn't really do them. Today, buybacks are more popular than dividends, as they should be for tax reasons. That is a funny idea because most management teams will never, ever say that they can't find projects that will return above weighted average cost of capital. Now, the problem is, what if you own the business? And this is the agent principal problem. This is like the first chapter of most business textbooks, where the management gets paid if they say that they can, get good returns on invested capital. They don't get paid if they say, well, you don't really need us. I'm just going to give you all the dividends back. Have you ever seen a publicly traded company that is just returning dividends, just doing buybacks? No new projects. They're just sunsetting the business. They're harvesting all the cash they can. Never. No way. I got to keep investing. I got to keep doing other things. I got to figure out how to grow. And, that's kind of one of the sins of business today is that, it's grow at all costs and grow no matter what. But, there's healthy growth and there's destructive growth. I mean, you can grow inorganically. Look at what IonQ is doing, right? IonQ is struggling to grow organically. So they're saying, well, let's use our capital and buy a bunch of other companies. Maybe that'll get us out of our problem. Well, the problem is, unless you're paying really good prices for those companies, it's not going to get you out of your problem. It's arguably going to make it worse. Lots of little lessons here. I think, hopefully you considered some of them and learned something. If not, again, there's more important lessons. But one of the funny things about business is that it's actually very easy to understand. It's very simple. All these principles and thoughts are important and easy, but you do have to go through them. If you skip all of these, you are giving yourself a hard time for no reason. It's not hard to learn kind of the academic corporate finance. What is important to do and why they teach this at MBA is, so what do MBA study, right? If you can learn mostly all of business right away, what do MBA study? Well, at Harvard, they study case studies. And I think that's, really important. And you guys sometimes see me doing things that you find perplexing. Sometimes I look at old companies, like spend a lot of time looking at companies that are long gone. You can't trade them, things like that. I look at companies I'm never going to trade. I look at private companies and you say, well, why is he doing any of this? And the point is, like, if you can get these case studies in your head about what worked and what didn't work, you sometimes will see me like put down people's names and like track down every employee of a company. That's actually how I met my girlfriend. Like, I just look at like, who was the first 20 people at Google? Who were the first 20 people at Microsoft? I'm going to track down every one of these people. Now, I don't know if Bill Gates is going to return my call. I think some of these other guys might return my call. And believe it or not, you slowly can put together a little bit of a network, or even a little bit of a pastiche of kind of what you think has happened. You start to get like a vision and a sense for okay, this is how this company made itself a special company, or this is how this company didn't make itself a special company and actually got really lucky, and et cetera, et cetera. The story's always very faceted, multifaceted. And, there's ancillary business benefits to that. Maybe one of these people might invest in your company, or your name gets out there a little bit more, whatever it is. But, in general, you're trying to study these businesses of histories historic businesses. And that's what Harvard MBA basically is, right? You don't even study any of these formulas or things like that anymore. It's not relevant. So I think that's kind of cool. Like people think of business school or graduate school and they groan. Well, you might groan, but there is a value to studying businesses with smart professors and other people. I think you probably learn in business school, you learn more from the other people and the networking you get from other MBA candidates than you would probably from the professors. Lots of, now you don't have all the time in the world either, right? So, you can't sit there and study all day, but, I try to, one of the reasons I like to do this is I like to look at businesses and study them, and I get more knowledge about, okay, how did this company do this in this situation? And I'm able to, in my own businesses, recall some of this stuff and say, oh yeah, this is how Atlassian took over the world. This is how AppLovin rose to success and then maybe fell from success. And when maybe you're in your company and you're thinking about doing a move like AppLovin did, maybe it's even unethical. You say, does this make sense? Should I do this? And we don't know how the AppLovin story will end. We have no clue. May end well, may end not so well. It's a new story. It's a new case study. And do you know when the case studies stop? Anybody know? When all the case studies stop? Yep, when you die. Thank you, Carol. And that's why if you read Buffett and all this stuff, like Buffett and Munger, these guys, Munger was still looking at businesses until he died. Because it's just more lessons, more things. And a lot of times you don't even need to take the risk to get the lesson. When Valiant, VRX, when Valiant was all the rage on Wall Street, I mean, Ackman was saying it was the next, this Ackman guy, that's my icon. I don't have a good impression for icon, but this Ackman guy. But this Ackman guy bought a bunch of Valiant. He said it was the next Berkshire Hathaway. Well, Berkshire Hathaway itself did not love hearing that. Charlie Munger was particularly insulted. This Ackman guy really thought Valiant was going to work out. And of course it didn't. And I think that he took the risk of buying Valiant shares, and he paid the price, unfortunate for him, of losing money. And you didn't have to buy Valiant to see what was going to happen. Now, what's funny is they also didn't buy Tesla. They also didn't buy Microsoft. They also didn't buy Google. And Buffett actually talks about his regret not buying Google. He said they should have known. They should have known better. Because they were a user, he said, of the product. Now, I don't think that's a good excuse to being the user of the product. He shouldn't have been unaware of Google, even if they weren't a user of the product. But I suppose that's a reason, But I do think Buffett's fear of technology, or whatever you want to call it, has probably caused him more harm than good. He's obviously not crying. And I think, again, when Buffett said stuff like, we invest in businesses we understand, it's from that capital is your return engine perspective. It's a very old perspective, but it is a perspective that makes sense. And now you're hearing people talking about the death of SaaS, right? That maybe, I doubt it, but maybe a guy and a cursor and a Claude or OpenAI or whatever, that one man and an IDE can recreate the software that you need. I don't need Salesforce. I can make my own. I don't need Workday. I can make my own. And so forth. And that basically the capital part of a software company is now being laid bare. That, hold on, drug companies have super high margins. Well, they got patents. Why does Oracle have super high margins? Why does Salesforce have high margins? Why does Intuit have high margins? Why does Adobe have high margins? Why do I need any of these things? I'll just have my AI make them. And of course, we don't think that AI can do that right now, but over time, perhaps that's the case. And that's sort of the Buffett theory of, well, wait a second, why would I pay for software when I can make it myself? And, some companies do make their own software, but the question is, will all software disappear? And that capital is something that you no longer have to look at and say, well, I wish I could spend a couple $100 million on capital and get a multi-billion-dollar software company. Now the point is that, well, Kamatha said, we're going to start seeing, software companies like that coming out cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. We'll see what happens. Nobody knows what the future will hold. Maybe there'll be a brand new, there'll kind of be a brand new way to think about business. Maybe not. This is where your theory and my theory, we'll toss it around, maybe over a glass of wine or something. We'll just figure out, well, actually the capital is in the relationships. The software itself didn't make a difference. You could sell slop. I'm not saying Oracle out loud right now, but you could sell slop and still get huge customers.
Order cancelled.
It doesn't matter if your software is good or not, works or not, to make a difference, because it's all in the relationships of sales and things like that. But then does the capital become the salesperson? I don't know. Lots of good questions. I'm not saying you should listen to Kamatha or something, by the way, if that's what you caught from that. Was Kamatha a quantum computing guy, really? I'm the baggy middleman. I'm the head baggy in charge. I tell you what to buy. I tell you what to hodl. I tell you what to diamond hand. There's no dumping of bags without my say-so. First bag I want you to buy, GameStop. You have any money left? Buy AMC. You got any more money left? Buy Virgin Galactic. I'm the head baggy in charge. Yeah, you've heard of that risk parity? Have you guys heard of that? This is the Bridgewater risk parity theory. You gotta shift your AMC and your GameStop exposures depending on their movement. So as your GME goes up, you sell a little bit and you buy some more AMC, and you just go in and out of balance like that. I don't know how Richard Branson, anyone stands this guy. If I could, it would all be red. My P&L would all be red. Yeah, exactly. IonQ and Rigetti risk parity. I actually was doing that today. So yeah, I know George. George is great. George is like one of these entrepreneurs that has these like superpower strengths in certain departments. And I'm not saying he has like weaknesses in other departments. He just has superpower strengths in some departments, which I think kind of makes him a good entrepreneur. I have no doubt his companies are and will be very, very, very successful. I was supposed to hang out with him in New York, but I wasn't feeling well. Even people who need to go back to school. Yeah, I know you hate the sound of that. A lot of you people hate the sound of school. I hate school. I can't do it. School's for losers, right? No, you learn things in school, believe it or not. But some of you, you have a problem. You know what that problem is? It's called ADHD. Yeah. You watch too much TV. You watch too much SpongeBob growing up. SpongeBob SquarePants. I don't even know how the song goes. You're watching too much Patrick and SpongeBob and Bikini Bottom and Sally or whatever. I don't even know the show. But you're watching these things, okay? And it just started corroding your brain. And I don't know if it was just SpongeBob, but it was other things too. It was video games. Here, yeah, let me show you how it works. This is what the video games did to your brain right here. Here, I'm going to take this, draw a very highly scientific picture here. It started doing this. Bad. That's scar tissue right there, okay? Okay, and that's then the rap music is here. Right in the frontal lobe. Here's the video games you played. Here's TikTok. Abnormalities appearing on your MRI scan. Doctor's looking at it. He's like, yep, TikTok. Pretty much you're working at 40% brain capacity of the frontal lobe. This stuff is fine. This stuff is evolutionarily protected. You're going to still be able to walk, talk, run, and unfortunately reproduce because this stuff is fine, So, and unfortunately, you're also going to be able to talk, smell, and do stuff like that, like come into my chat and waste my time because this stuff is fine. But the part where you're supposed to make sense, oh yeah, that's been long gone. Enough TikTok, enough internet, enough YouTube, all that stuff, it just starts to just die. So you're left with a very small amount of brain. And when you hear the term school, which might restore some of this, it might bring it back. It might say, okay, we're back. Nope, you don't want that. You don't want that. School. School hurts, man. That hurts me inside. That's your brain throbbing with pain. No, I don't want this. I can't go back to school. And you come up with some excuse, any excuse you can to not learn. Can't learn. Okay, well, if you don't want to go back to school, open up Wikipedia and take notes and read that for 6 hours. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. He goes to Wikipedia. 2 seconds later. Oh yeah, what's on Steam? Let me see. And this is your Steam. You got 50 video games on it. How'd that happen? How'd that happen? I have 50, 60 video games on it because I researched the game industry. That's different. That's different. Then you watch the TV, you watch sports, even though the Yankees aren't going to help you. The Knicks are not going to, their paycheck doesn't go to you. Your paycheck goes to them. So what happens to your brain? It gets even worse. It gets even worse. And you know who started it all? SpongeBob. He's living right here, SpongeBob. He's in your subconscious, and he's guiding all of this death, this brain death. Pretty soon your brain's pretty much empty. The only thing you can do, walk, talk, breathe, smell, fight, parietal lobe, amygdala. Most of the structures are pretty much gone. Go back to school if you can't type a full sentence. Stay in school if you're in school. Learn some stuff. Pay attention. Well, it's complicated. They have superstores, discount stores, neighborhood markets, and Sam's Club. So that's 5,214 stores. And again, that can give you a sense for, okay, well, if I just wanted to compete with Walmart in one place, obviously, you know, they have distribution network and stuff like that. But what theoretically, at least, would it cost to compete in one place? Oh, that's interesting. If I never would have guessed it, actually. Would you have guessed it? What does one Walmart store cost in PP&E? They have 5,000 stores. Yeah, of course it's a delivery. $30,000, you joking? 5 million's light. Yeah, 22 million. 22 million. Each store is about 22 million of property. It's not per quarter. That's the standing value of the property, plant, and equipment. Depreciated value. I took the property, plant, and equipment, which is 117 billion, and divided by how many stores they have, which is 5,000. So if you can cough up $22 million of equipment, you can basically brick for brick replicate a Walmart. Will you get their sales? I don't know. That depends. Somebody goes in your version of Walmart, all the prices are too high. That's not good. The leases, I disagree with the FASB approach. I don't think these leases are a real cost because you also have them as assets. So I'm not a big fan of the lease accounting. Well, we can also do the revenue per store. So the revenue per store is pretty simple to do too. Yeah, just eyeballing it, it's 31 million a quarter. So yeah, around 100 something a year. So they do have international stores too. That's just US. I didn't know they have a lot more international stores than they used to. I'm surprised actually. So technically that's for, you know, the number I gave you, 22, is too high. The real number there, including international, is more like 11 million. I didn't include it. I just looked at US stores. I didn't even bother looking at international. They have 144 distribution facilities. No, 368 distribution facilities. So again, really important to me to look at this stuff. Now, they also do same store sales. And again, I have some new data sources that might be able to allow us to get some of those numbers during the quarter. Of course, if you knew the actual Walmart numbers during the quarter, that's called insider trading, and you're going to experience what I experienced. Don't do that. But it's not illegal to get some data that gives you a sense of how the quarter is going. Credit card data is one kind of that data. Many hedge funds have that. The data source I'm looking at, so we'll have that for GoodL subscribers at some point. But the data source I'm looking at, which we might have for GoodL subscribers very soon, is a third kind of data source, different kind of data source that nobody's got. So I will share that when appropriate. And I'm not saying it's going to be better than credit card data or better than, you know, whatever. I'm just saying that it's another data point to add. And they generally call this alternative data for what it's worth. Yeah, you don't want to do insider trading. That's the easiest crime to get caught on. Rigetti, I think will be flat today. I think it's going to be at below 8. No, meme coins, I mean, fraud is regulated. So fraud is still regulated. Fraud is crime no matter what. It doesn't matter what you're selling. So wire fraud is a crime regardless. So a true rug where somebody literally just dumps everything they have is absolutely wire fraud. I'll put it back for a second. Okay. If you say I'm never going to sell, or I'm not going to sell, or I'm not selling, and then you do, if you never say, hey, I never told you I would hold this forever, then I think you're in better shape than before. Might be implicit, But if you rug it, it's still a crime because you're basically saying, I knew I was going to dump everything. I knew I was going to dump it all, but I still offered it to all of you knowing that you would have loved to have known. This is how they got me actually in hedge funds, which I dispute to this day, of course. But they asked my investors, because I gave them a disclosure document that says, hey, you might lose all your money, right? Looks, nobody's gone to jail yet. I would not be shocked if people did start going to jail. I gave my stockholders or my limited partners a document that said, look, Martin can do whatever he wants with this money, and he might lose it all. And I didn't lose it all, which is the funniest part of all. I made a lot of money, but he might lose it all. And you got to be careful, and you got to be ready to lose it all. So, be careful.
𝗠𝗕𝗀𝗘.
But that's not enough. Even if you gave out that disclosure document, you basically, all you have to do is sit down and one of the buyers of the meme coin and you say, sir, you bought this meme coin, correct? Yes, I did. And sir, how much money did you lose buying this meme coin? I lost $10,000. All right, sir. And when you bought it, it was $10,000 and you haven't sold it yet, right, sir? Correct. And today the present value of it is what? 2 cents. Okay, so if you were to sell it, you would get about 2 cents, correct? Correct. Okay. Now, sir, Mr. Baggy, you are new to investing. Is that right? Well, I bought some stocks. I bought some crypto. So I guess I'm new, yeah. All right, Mr. Bagson. Well, did you know that you could lose all your money? Yeah, I lose my money sometimes. Did you ever think that the person that sold you this crypto was planning to sell it all along? There'll probably be some objection. But basically, it's like, no. And why didn't you think that, Mr. Bagson? Well, I wouldn't have bought it if I knew that. Ah, you never would have bought it if you knew that the person selling it to you was just about to sell all of it without your knowledge, correct? Yeah. So you would have liked to have known that this person planned to sell it all. Yeah. And you would have avoided that crypto in that case. Hmm. And any hardship you've suffered from losing that $10,000? I could have bought 𝗥𝗏𝗄. That went up 10x. So believe it or not, there's a guy who said that in my case. He put like 100 grand in our fund. He got 240 out. But he said that he lost money because he was going to buy Facebook. He says he was going to buy Facebook stock. No, wait. He said he was going to buy a building. He said he was going to buy a building. And the prosecutor said, how much would you have made on the building? And the guy said it was like a 5x. The judge made me pay the 5x. Just on this guy's word. His word. That it would have gone up 5x. It is what it is.
𝗠𝗕𝗀𝗘.
I was furious. I told my lawyer, I said, what's to stop him from saying he was about to buy Google, Facebook, OpenAI? Could have been anything. Facebook went up 100x since then. You should have said Facebook. Yeah, anyway, point being, it is illegal to rug pull, and anyone doing it should be worried about prison. Because fraud is fraud. Doesn't matter if it's a meme coin or not. I don't know how much you paid, like 20 million or something. The nice thing is when you're actually talented in life, money has basically no meaning because like the main guy who's me over was this like million-year-old, I don't know how old he is, must be 80 or something, like drug executive who just never really made it. It made him an extra 5 million or something that he wouldn't have made in his drug career. But to me, it's like, well, I can make billion-dollar companies to snap my fingers. Like, that's why I'm globally known. That's why I'm talented. It doesn't make a difference to me. That's the way. I just know not to do business with you. I know what to avoid in the future. And I go on my merry way. I think he was very bitter because a lot of the kids, and he would refer to a lot of us as kids, we were all half his age or less. And we were making more money than he made his whole life. So to him, it was just infuriated, that there could be somebody who's getting paid because they're talented. Actually, so what's funny is I never took any management fees either, or performance fees. Our fund had a trade that just sort of put us in a bad spot that we had to work out of, and we weren't going to take any management fees whatsoever. And nobody likes that situation, but they tend to happen in private equity and in hedge funds. It happens all the time, and we worked our way out of it.